President Trump says there was nothing wrong with his son welcoming a purported offer from the Russian government to discuss information that could help them win the 2016 election. The scrutiny continues for the Trump Tower meeting in which Donald Trump Jr. gathered top campaign aides Jared Kushner and Paul Manafort after being promised official documents and information that would incriminate Hillary Clinton, part of Russia and its government support for Mr. Trump. Asked by Reuters if he wishes his son had not taken the meeting, the president said, "I think many people would have held that meeting." On whether he wished he knew, the president said it was a wild time and we would meet with many people. It was a 20-minute meeting, I guess, from what I'm hearing. Many people and many political pros said everybody would do that. Many people and many political pros said everybody would do that if you got a call and said, "Listen, I have information on Hillary Clinton or the DNC," or whatever it was. They said most people are going to make that meeting, I think. The president said he didn't know anything about the meeting until a couple of days ago. This week's new issue of Time magazine is entitled "Donald Trump Jr. Red-Handed, the Russia Scandal Hits Home." And Time magazine's Washington bureau chief Michael Scherer joins us now, along with former chief of staff at the CIA and Department of Defense, NBC News national security analyst Jeremy Bash.
Michael, I'm sorry, go ahead, Mika.
No, I actually just want to back up a little bit to, I guess, the claim that Jared Kushner had no idea what the meeting was about because he didn't read farther down in the email. Jeremy, is that possible when the subject line said what it was about?
Well, who knows what was in his mind, but I think that's one thing that Senate and House intelligence investigators, of course, Bob Mueller, will ask him. They'll show him the email and they say, "Do you recall this? Did you see this? Why did you go to this meeting?" It kind of strains credulity that he didn't know. Of course, this was a meeting set up by his brother-in-law with the campaign chairman, with a foreign government official purporting to express support for the campaign from the Russian government. It seems
I'm going to go on a limb and say he knew.
And as we said yesterday, Mike,
very comfortable.
We had a guest that pointed out there was a phone call also, a follow-up phone call before the meeting took place. And this campaign brought together the most important people in the room. And Don Jr. lied a couple days ago, saying that nobody knew what the meeting was about. He forwarded the email.
And in July of that year, Don Jr. was on CNN saying it was ridiculous and a lie that Russia was attempting to help the Trump campaign.
What did he call it? Outrageous?
Outrageous,
disgusting.
even though he had already taken the meeting at that point. I think for Jared Kushner, the more pertinent question may be when did he remember this meeting with regards to his security clearance application. The story that his lawyer has told is that he, in haste, submitted his security clearance application, initially left off most,
bankers,
if not all, of his contacts. When he realized he'd made that mistake, he corrected it. There is a level of intent that matters there. I mean,
Now, he corrected it before.
He corrected it before this story came out.
And how many times has he revised his security?
We don't know. I think the statement from his attorney suggests it has been more than once.
Right. And it seems to me, at least from the reporting, it seems to me he's done it in waves.
Right.
He remembered the ambassador and then the banker, and now it seems that.
And what his people have said is that until this email was resurfaced more recently, he had forgotten entirely about this meeting, that the meeting had just slipped his mind.
Right.
Yeah, good luck telling that to Bob Mueller, with somebody who says, "We're coming and we're going to help you win the election."
Ambassador, banker, lawyer, a lot of jobs on Russia.
Yes.
Russians. Talk about what your cover story says about Don Jr. and his place in all this now.
Well, you know, I think the most interesting part of this is that Trump has always treated family differently, and this White House family continues to be treated differently. You saw the breakdown that happened this week between the legal team, which was supposed to be the thing that brought some professionalism to the way the president was responding to this crisis, and Trump himself and the family members around him. I think it's been proven again that when it comes to family, the idea that you can have a structure around the president that functions like a conventional White House, that functions like a normal communication structure, that functions like a normal legal response operation, just sort of breaks down, because the president will always choose to maybe not will always, has consistently chosen to go on full offense, to deny as much as he can, and that's the way he handles these things.
So, Jeremy Bash, I'm just looking at backing up on this meeting and looking at the initial statement that came out, that was crafted collectively, apparently, that this meeting was about something completely different. And then that unravels and turns out to be what some might call a lie.
Oh, it was a lie.
What will it take to compel the president, his advisors, to really provide some answers on connections with Russia? What more does one need to see happen to prompt Republicans maybe to ask for a subpoena?
Well, I think what we want to see is whether or not Manafort or Flynn, who are not blood, to your point, and who are not family, actually turn, and whether or not they cop to some lesser charge or some failure to disclose charge. You know, in Flynn's case, he actually is accused of lying to the FBI on January 24th during his White House interview. And Manafort has other legal issues, whether they turn and testify against the family. They've never liked the family. In some ways, the family took control of the campaign and pushed some other people out. And so there have been these rivalries. But the most important word in that email, if you go back, is the word part. It was part of a Russia and Russian government effort to support your father's campaign. What were the other parts? And clearly, if you're Kushner or Manafort or Don Jr. and you read that email, you must know what the other parts are. They didn't seem to be surprised by that. That didn't seem to be some big revelation. There were agents of influence. There was cyber hacking. There were potentially these bots that you discussed earlier. And then there was this effort to support Donald Trump directly by the Russian government.
I think another important word the last few days is the president kept calling his son transparent. He kept praising Don Jr. for being transparent. And what this episode proved once again is they are not being transparent. Right. They knew the email existed when they gave the initial statement to the New York Times. So they knew they were omitting information. The only reason they would do that rationally was they thought the email would never come out, or it would come out at such a future date that people would have forgotten all about this and it wouldn't matter anymore. They chose, when the question was asked them, not to give the full information until they were forced to do it later.
This feels like it's unraveling. It just feels like things are getting hotter and they're digging themselves deeper.
Well, I think the reason why this story was so significant is this is the first direct link between the senior levels of the campaign and Russian efforts to meddle in the election. We knew about the Russian efforts to meddle. What we had not seen is yet direct evidence between that and the campaign until this email.
And specific language of intent for Russia to come in, the Russian government to come in and influence the election. Jeremy Bash, thank you so much. Michael Scherer, thank you too. The new issue of Time Magazine's out now and coming up live at the top. Thanks for checking out MSNBC on YouTube, and make sure you subscribe to stay up to date on the day's biggest stories. And you can click on any of the videos around us to watch more from Morning Joe and MSNBC. Thanks so much for watching.